everybody, it's your girl, the Authentic Empress, and we're gonna go ahead and do this video. I've been kind of stalling for the last 2 to 3 days about this particular topic, so let's just go ahead and dive right into it. This video is going to be regarding a African shaman that I encountered as a divine mission from the divine council. Let's say that this person is an individual in the conscious community who was facilitating glamour spells and love spells on fellow Facebookers and stuff like that in order to acquire support and recognition. And I was one of the people in the mix of that, at the time being on Facebook and, you know, newly coming into the conscious community, I guess, group, right, on Facebook. And I was one of the people that was targeted, and, you know, my ancestors and my spirit guides allowed this person to do so. Well, basically had me positioned in this person's vicinity in order for them to, I guess, be seduced by my nature and thus bring themselves into their own trap, right? Their own detriment. And so this person admitted to me that they did cast a spell on me, and I'm assuming that is a love spell, right? And glamour spell. This individual also called himself the alchemist child in the conscious community, where he is actually the very opposite of that. And what I mean by that is that I found him out to be a dark sorcerer. And, you know, me, along with plenty of people in the conscious community, you know, were drawn to the things that this person was saying. Personally, for me, I found a lot of things that he was saying at the time to be very ethical, and kind of different from what what I was seeing a lot of the guys, the ideologies that a lot of the guys were flocking into. Like, this was around a time where polygamy was discussed heavily in the conscious community, and a lot of people was jumping on that train, you know, riding that wave. And he was a particular individual, you know, who seemed to, you know, be against that. You know, he was promoting and preaching monogamy, basically, you know, as his standard of living, among other things that I found to be ethical at the time. And it just was different from the typical conversation that all the other guys were having, right? So that definitely caught my attention. You know, everything seemed very innocent at first. It's just that whenever I got to know this person up close and personal, that's when, you know, the darkness, that devil energy was exposed more and more. So one morning, I woke up from a dream, and what I heard ringing in my spirit was something. It's the what word would you call it? I guess you would call it, it's like a rhyme, some type of I'm going to say nursery rhyme, even though nursery rhymes are typically associated with, like, lullabies, like for babies. But it's kind of like a nursery rhyme for weddings, like a wife, like a riddle that's been followed traditionally as it pertains to wives or women who are about to get married and stuff like that. So let me see, because I don't want to say it incorrectly, so let me Google it very briefly. But it's basically something used, something old, something borrowed, something blue, somewhere along those lines. But let me get the correct saying. Yes, so something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, and a sixpence in your shoe. A sixpence is basically a silver coin. But whenever I heard it in my spirit, I was hearing something much deeper than what, you know, is typically discussed whenever it's referring to weddings, the wedding tradition, which the wedding tradition is typically talking about. When they say something old, they mean something old from like maybe an old wedding, you know, an older couple, you know, a couple that's already married, or, you know, something from your family passed down, or maybe like your mother's gown, your mother's veil, or whatever the case may be, you know, something old in that nature. And then something new, so maybe like a diamond accessory, or some type of gem or jewel, right? Something new. And then something borrowed. Something borrowed from like an elder married couple, or anything borrowed from someone in the family, the bloodline, whatever the case may be. And then something blue, which most people, they just, you know, associate some type of blue accessory. Now, when I delve deeper into this, particularly on Wikipedia, let me tell you what I discovered. So, something blue in older times was associated with the evil eye, right? For protection against suitors, right? Who didn't get the opportunity to be the husband of this wife, you know? So basically unhappy or upset or angry suitors, right? Frustrated suitors. So I'm going to read this. The old item provides protection for the baby to come. The new item offers optimism for the future. The item borrowed from another happily married couple provides good luck. The color blue is a sign of purity and fidelity. The sixpence, which is a British silver coin, is a symbol of prosperity or acts as a ward against evil done by frustrated suitors. So also that silver coin is also associated with warding off evil, right? Just like the evil eye, right? The evil eye symbol. But let's focus on it saying the old item provides protection for the baby to come, right? So we understand, you know, spiritually that creativity, you know, the sacral space for women is not only known for creating life, like life as is associated with a baby, but also endeavors or projects or ideas, innovations, inventions, you know, anything along those lines, whatever that's created, right? Anything that's created, even if it comes to emotions or reproducing generational patterns, you know, anything that you recreate into the reality, right? That's, you know, within you, that's within your womb space, right? And women, you know, we hold a lot of trauma and upsets within our womb space. So sometimes as a result, we can recreate, you know, those detrimental or those destructive behaviors into the reality as a result, if we fail to transmute that trauma, right? If we fail to clear out this energy center. So there's that. So when it says this, right, the old item provides protection for the baby to come, you know, an old item, that oldness, right, being wisdom, right? Wisdom from experience. Because technically, you know, wisdom is something that is of old, because experience is something that you already encountered and overcome. And you know, that wisdom is almost like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a token, like a souvenir, you know, something that you've gained from those experiences, right? And then you have the new item offers optimism for the future. So the new item can be, you know, newfound knowledge, you know, higher levels of knowledge and information, you know, that brings and breeds optimism for the future, right? And then you have the item borrowed from another happily married couple. So once again, wisdom from someone else's experience, knowledge or customs or things downloaded and encrypted within your DNA something passed down from generations, from your ancestry, you know, things like that, that you should keep, because we're talking spiritual, right? We're talking about the spiritual essence of this riddle, you know, not the actual physical manifestation that's been associated with the tradition of marriage. So then we have, because, let me finish. So the item borrowed from another happily married couple provides good luck. So another thing, them saying another happily married couple, right? Because you don't want to get wisdom and you don't want to take advice, you know, and information just from anybody. You want it, ideally you want to receive that from someone who has been successful in what they're telling you, right? You know, so there's that. Then the color blue is a sign of purity and fidelity. So blue, so we understand blue to be associated with the throat chakra. We understand the color blue to be associated with peace as well, right? And like they said, purification, expression, water, which also is related to like intuition and discernment and all of those beautiful things. And once again, the evil eye, right? The evil eye. So, and you know, fidelity in itself, it's like another word for truth and honesty, integrity, something void of fallacy. So, and then the sixpence, which is a silver coin, being a symbol of prosperity or acts as a ward against evil done by frustrated suitors. So just now I thought about talents, you know, the things that's instilled within us, so that we take that and we're supposed to multiply that to bring and breed prosperity into our legacies. It's like the story. I wish I would have pulled this. Matter of fact, I'm saying I wish, and I have a computer right in front of me, so I'll just pull it up. But I'm reminded, because this is also something else within this time frame when I'm receiving these downloads and these connections. This is also something that was brought to my awareness by the Most High. So let me go ahead and pull that up. Yes, the parable of the talents. So let me pull that up. And it looks like Wikipedia has it as well. So, okay. Now me, I'm actually, because I understand, well, personally for me, I'm still going to read what Wikipedia says, but personally, I feel like a lot of, not saying that some of the things in there have not been manipulated, but all of it has not been manipulated, right? The Bible, I feel like a lot of the way that a lot of it was worded, even though, you know, the language itself is not of our natural tongue, you know, as melanated people and indigenous people, I still feel like the way that it's worded, it takes a deeper understanding. It takes like an upgrade within your spiritual DNA for you to understand the language of parables. And sometimes, even as a divine people, you can speak in parables, you know, regardless of what language is communicated or translated in, you know, whether that's English or whatever the case may be. There's still, you know, times when you're a high vibrational divine being, where you would tend to speak in like a parable like language or tone. So I'm going to pull up the way that it was written in the Bible, right? All right. Which is in Matthew. Okay. For the kingdom, this is Matthew 25:14. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. Right? So I'm going to break it down after I read it all. And into one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. So let me read that again. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country. For the kingdom of heaven is as, right? This is like a representation of heaven, right? Within a people, within a person, within a soul, individual. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. You know, because God is within you. And into one, and you know, that light that's within you as well. I'm going to stop interrupting. But I interject, you know, it's like an intellectual thing. Like, I don't know. That's just something that I've known, like, real genuine intellectuals to do. Like, we tend to interject. But yeah. So, and unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he had received the 5 talents. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them other 5 talents. And likewise, he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. But he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth, and hid his Lord's money. So again, talking about, what was it? The silver coin, the silver pence, right? In the wife's left shoe, right? Prosperity. All right. After a long time, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoneth with him. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. Like right? So he took the talents that he had, and he went and he multiplied it, you know? That's what we're truly supposed to do as divine beings, you know, whether that be, you know, our talents, our skills, our wisdom from experience, you know, whatever the case may be, you know, what's really defined as wealth, you know, in a spiritual sense, you know, your spiritual wealth, your emotional wealth, your psychological wealth, right? These internal things, you know, where wealth should first be cultivated in order for it to fully manifest and be substantial and steadfast, right? In the material realm. Okay. Behold, I have gained, His Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord. Right? He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside them. His Lord said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of the Lord. So this is, you know, an example of, regardless of how many talents, or, you know, how less talents, you know, or less talented or equipped that you feel like you have, but taking what you do have, you know, from your experiences, or, you know, what's been encrypted or downloaded into you, and multiplying that, you know, going and sharing that, that knowledge, that wisdom, you know, those gifts, you know, with others in order to multiply it, right? Because you're sharing this ultimately with a soul. Not saying that all the souls, you know, who encounter these things that you have to bring, you know, are going to take that and multiply it. But if you could get 1 or even 2, right? But even going back to that 1, if you manage to, you know, be able to get that 1, right, and have them multiply it, right, you know, that's still, you know, that's still you putting in the effort, you know, to trust, you know, what you have, right, what you do have, and then go and actually multiply it instead of, you know, being selfish with it, and, you know, all of those things. And if you notice, even though be very mindful about the words that's chosen here. So even though this person only had 2, because that's what they were given, right? They weren't given 5, they were given 2. But that person still went and multiplied it, and as a result, this person is going to be blessed, you know, with being a ruler over many things. That could be equivalent to the person who went and multiplied the 5 talents. But simply because they, you know, they were faithful, they were good, they obeyed, you know, the God within, the light within them, and went and shared and spread that light. You know, they're blessed, you know, with many nations, basically. Which, you know, nations is like, to break that down, it's like tribes, right? Your generations, you know, your legacy. All right. All right. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not scrawled. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. Now let's see, I'm going to read back over that. But let's read the Lord's response first. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not scrawled. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received my own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him, and give it unto him which hath 10 talents. For unto every one that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So think about those people, think about the karmics, right? The karmics versus, you know, the true divine feminines and masculines. Even though we always, you know, we all encounter attacks. We all encounter generational curses and patterns and, you know, toxic behaviors that, you know, we're basically challenged to transmute this energy, right? You know, these are, you know, we all have our own struggles. We all go through things, and, you know, but we don't allow the divine feminines and masculines, we don't succumb to that energy of being victims. We don't succumb to that. We don't succumb to the fact that, you know, we experience limitations. We're experiencing attacks, and we don't allow that to defeat the light that's within us. We don't allow those things to turn our heart dark, right? To allow our hearts to harden. We manage to retain our heart and our faith, right? Due to our faith in the Most High, you know, due to our faith, you know, in the light, right? In our light. So therefore, we create abundance for ourselves because we multiply that integrity, you know, those beautiful character traits, you know, that are of God that's within us, regardless of the circumstances and the battles or whatever that we encounter, right? Yeah, you know, we understand that it's bigger than us. We understand what comes from those experiences, right? Wisdom, knowledge, edification, you know, all these wonderful things that are gained as a result. And so whenever karmics engage, you know, or they misuse or abuse, you know, their powers or whatever due to their scarcity mentality, or due to covetousness, or due to envy or jealousy, or these fears, or anything that's of a dark, lower vibrational nature, right, or demonic nature, we are very, you know, we are very well accustomed to how, you know, a lot of karma individuals, how they conduct themselves, how they govern themselves, you know, how they manifest themselves, and the many things that they are consumed of, right, that they fall into. And, you know, hence why we encounter spiritual warfare in the first place, why we encounter attacks and jealousy and spells, spell work, you know, being thrown at us, or, you know, projections and all of those things, right? Who, you know, it comes from somewhere. And if it's not coming from the true divine feminines and masculines, who is it coming from? It's coming from karmics, right? And as a result of them doing that, right, they end up with the Page of Pentacles, right? Consider the Seven of Pentacles, where they're so focused on our abundance, they're so focused on, you know, what we have in our energy and our light, that they totally neglect, you know, what they have, right? Just because of what it looks like, just because it looks like it's small, you know, and it's only 2 pentacles, right? And, you know, but you notice, if you pay attention to the plant of the Seven of Pentacles card, it's like the Seven of Pentacles, that plant, you can tell is that it's not being watered, it's not being properly nurtured, right? It's not being properly attended to in the way that we properly nurture and attend to our vessels, right? To our souls, to our healing, you know, transmuting trauma and all of those things, and breaking generational curses, and, you know, doing DNA clearing and DNA healing and all those things, you know, being responsible with our lives, being responsible with our souls, and using what we have, like the elements, you know, being resourceful and what we have to make the best, you know, basically alchemy. You know, we alchemize that cold, we alchemize that dark energy, and we turn it into gold, right? We multiply it. And as a result of karmics, you know, choosing to, you know, operate in that devil energy, whatever little abundance that they have is given to us. They don't realize that out of a result of them trying to being covetous of what we have and trying to throw dirt in the evil eye, you know, on our lives and, you know, our inheritance and stuff like that, they end up giving up their inheritance to us. They end up adding to our inheritance, right? Consider karma. Because you better believe that you're going to be repaid for, you know, the injustices that these karma individuals inflict upon your life, right? That's going to cultivate as added good karma to you. And as a result, bad karma for them, because the scales have to be balanced, right? That's just, you know, what's fair. They chose that. They chose to give up their divinity, right? And look at it as this too, that inheritance that they had, right? What they gave up. This is what it looks like, you know. What they gave up was actually experience, right? Experiences for us. Wisdom, because we're alchemizers. We're alchemists. We alchemized that low vibrational energy, those projections and all those things that they threw upon us, right? Giving away their divinity, giving away their power to low vibrational things. And as a result of being alchemists, we take that low vibration that they threw onto us and we alchemize it into gold, right? Into wisdom and knowledge. And we share that with others, right? We pass that down into our legacy, right? So that's what that means. Okay. So that's very straight to the point. So let's move forward regarding this African shaman, considering everything that we just discussed. So I have some notes here. I want to read through the notes first. Excuse me. I'm going to read through the notes first, and then we're going to pull some cards on the situation, as well as me giving you some background information regarding this particular individual that I personally was tasked to encounter firsthand, right? That was just a divine mission of mine, to bring this person to justice, right? Because, you know, as divine individuals, in most cases, we are these karmics, we are these people's karma. Their opportunity to change, you know, to make better choices, make the better decision, right? And out of a result of our ranking, our spiritual rank, if they so choose to, once again, be in that low vibrational or succumb to that low vibrational energy, or try to take advantage of us, try to energy harvest off our light, right? They create karma for themselves. And not only that, but what did I just say about us alchemizing those, those projections and those, the spell work and all that stuff that they do to us as a result? What do? We alchemize that. We turn that into gold, and then we go and we share this knowledge and this wisdom from experience with others, so that they can avoid these situations, right? Because that's a part of our divine duty, to bring down these principalities and add love and abundance, whether that be abundance in emotional wealth, emotional intelligence, right? Psychological health and intelligence, bodily, physically, spiritually, right? We add that to the collective, right? A lot of times we're tasked with dealing with, these bigger principalities and these giants, because we do the work, right? We're the ones given the 5 talents, and we go and we multiply that, right? We do the work necessary so that, people who only have 2, or you get what I'm saying, or our legacies to come, they don't have to encounter these type of situations. All right. So let's just go ahead and get into the background information. So, well, I guess it would help for me to, So let's say this first. So this particular individual, again, we were just friends on Facebook for some time at first, and this was someone that I chatted with a few times as I was in another mission, assigned another mission or coming out of one with another karmic masculine in the conscious community, and which it was very painful, a painful challenge to go through and overcome. And so this particular person, me, thinking that they were very ethical and high vibrational, whatever the case may be, there were a few, maybe 2-3 times we had conversations, and this person was just like a listening ear, right, for what I was currently dealing with and stuff like that. And that kind of created a rapport between us, and as a result, as time went on, this person expressed their interest in me, and we ended up dating, let's just say that. Now, excuse me. In the beginning of us dating, like making it official and whatnot, or even before, I gotta say this, prior to making it official, even though I ignored it because I was in a vulnerable state, right, coming out of that situation, which was a lesson that I had to gain from that as well. Not only was I assigned a mission to bring down that particular principality, but it was also a lesson in it for me to gain and apply to myself. Once again, being an alchemist. 333 on the timer when I said that. This person, they were very kind of pressuring, trying to pressure me to speed up my decision and agreeing to date them, right? And even though I was overcome with anxiety, and I managed to repress this person temporarily, it was not that long. I ended up giving in to the situation. 3333 again. I ended up giving into the situation because of the magic that was being done on me that I didn't really recognize at the time. So I remember in the first few days, of me agreeing, or maybe within the first week, there was 2 situations. There was a situation when this person, because in the beginning you're in a honeymoon stage. There was one conversation we had. This person actually told me that they put a spell on me, and the way that they said it, you wouldn't think that they were serious. Hocus Pocus movie, that's how they said it to me. They was like, I put a spell on you. That's how he said it. And so, I'm thinking, he's just joking, he's just being funny, ha, 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 Later on, that particular clue was brought back to my memory, by the Most High. And, that's when it dawned on me after some other events took place that, okay, there really was some magic, some spell casting going on right here. love spells, right? Glamour spells, binding spells. All right, in another situation, because trauma bonding is a spell as well. Let's go ahead and say that, because this person was also engaging in trauma bonding tactics. Yeah, there was a situation where this person mentioned, they made a comment. Well, I did consult, believing that this person was high vibrational. I consulted with this person something regarding a family member who, you know, whose sexuality is not conventional, let's say that. And this person proceeded to make particular remarks that I was not fond of. And, you know, like anybody that would defend, you know, their family or whatever, especially when it comes to somebody who doesn't even know your family member, right? I told him, I said these particular words: don't come from my brother, you know? And this person completely flipped on me, called himself breaking up with me, talking shit to me, saying that I was being disrespectful, that those were fighting words, that I was calling him out to fight him, and I was just disrespectful, and all these things that was, you know, it really wasn't that deep. It was as simple as boundaries, right? A boundary. That's what that was. And this person threw a tantrum for me, you know, having that boundary. Honestly, a boundary that I've had most of my life, since I was younger, with several people. So there's that. Once again, that trauma bonding, you know, combined with the love and the glamour spells and the binding spells that this person was facilitating on me. This person considers himself a shaman. He says that he was made a shaman in Africa, Eritrea, when he was a young child by, I guess, other older males in the community. I don't exactly remember their titles or whatever, but apparently him and a few other young boys were taken to go through this rites of passage, and whomever successfully finished all levels of that rites of passage, they were given the title of a shaman, and that's how he became a shaman or whatever. Now keep in mind that I mentioned Eritrea, because that's going to be a key detail here whenever I get into this information that I have written down. So, because I wanna give like real critical details before I start reading this stuff. All right, so there's those two things. We did manage to keep talking, right? Because you know that's how trauma bonding goes. It's like that back and forth thing, or a person trying to guilt trip you and, you know, victimize you, or they play the victim and da 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 da. You know, that type of energy. So fast forward toward that. We'll pass that. Now, I dated this person up to, I want to say, from August or the month before August, leading up to October, late October. Let's say late October or the beginning of November. So something like that, along those lines. And within that time frame, I didn't see this person until October, ironically, right? Because I broke up with him shortly after that face-to-face visit, which was the only face-to-face encounter we had. You know, everything was over the phone, you know, video chat, all of that, right? Everything was over the phone until that one particular weekend, which was shortened also, and I'm going to get into that. He was supposed to be there for a whole week, but ended up staying for only 2 days. Mind you, this person was in a totally different state, a few states away from me, and, you know, travel by bus, I went to pick him up from Atlanta, a bus station in Atlanta, where I was currently residing in Beaufort, South Carolina. And so that was 4 hours, an 8-hour drive in total that I drove the entire drive, because he didn't have a license in order to drive, and not only that, but he didn't want to, right? So here's when glamour spells come into play, right? This person painted himself out to be so macho and, you know, so this and so that. And a lot of his photos were structured in a way that, you know, he seemed like he would be a well-statured individual. Like, you know, you would think he was very, very well-statured, you know. He was always posting these photos of these crafts and things that he created, like, as far as, like, land-like structures, and that's the type of work that he did, you know, like gardening. Like, he was a gardener, so gardening and building things out of wood, like building like cabin-like structures and those type of things, right? This was a lot of the stuff he promoted, so of course you would think, oh, this is very macho guy. And even in his photos, like, he looked like he was very, you know, his arms looked very buff, like, and, you know, stuff like that. So you would think that this person was, like I said, a well-statured individual. Not saying, you know, because I'm not a shallow person at all. So, but I'm saying these details for a reason. So let me get talking, because we're already at 41 minutes. In person, he was very small. He was a very small statured individual. He was not what he seemed like he would be through the photos and online and stuff like that. Like, I'll never forget, there was one photo he sent me, and the way that it was angled, like, it was a full body photo, but the way that it was angled, he looked tall in the picture. And he's not tall at all. If anything, he's shorter than me. If, you know, and I'm about 5'2". I'm about 5'2". So he's like my height or shorter. Now, I'm saying all this for a reason. There was one conversation we had prior to us meeting face to face, where he told me about a guy where he used to work as a producer in a studio or whatever. He had a lot of stories, right? A lot of stories to make himself look like he was some type of person of high caliber. And he was saying how there was this girl in there who was kind of, I guess she was like a siren type of individual, and she was taller than, there was these 3 guys, and they all were coming on to her and asking her, oh, how much it costs or whatever, da da da. And how she sat on the taller guy's lap and was entertaining him and had liked him. But the small guy, she wasn't interested in him because he was small, right? And he was laughing at it and thought it was funny. And, you know, he was saying he was so tickled and felt bad for him, da 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 da. And then he also told me about another encounter that he had with a female who was tall, apparently, and how she gave him head, and that's all he allowed her to do. How he rejected having sex with her or dating her because of how tall she was, or because she was taller than him or bigger than him. And he didn't like big women, or women who are bigger than him or taller than him, whatever. What's something else? Okay, that might be enough as far as that information pertaining to stature prior to me seeing him. So when I saw him, this is a very vocal person too. He's an Aquarius Scorpio mix, so he was very vocal about his agitations or his perspectives and his thoughts and stuff like that pertaining to people and, you know, vanity or whatever the case may be. Because even the guy that I dated prior to him, he was a dark-skinned man, you know, tall, nice statured, like body and everything, locks, all of that stuff. And, you know, even though they were particularly cool with each other, you know, in the conscious community, you know, he still didn't fail to, you know, talk trash about the guy, saying that he's ugly, he's not attractive. Yeah, a guy saying this. So there's that too. And he, oh yeah, I gotta say this too, like about the spell work, right? Earlier when we were dating, because I almost forgot this detail, he told me that he was consulting with his ancestors, and he was saying, well, if this gonna be the girl that I'm gonna deal with or talk to, I gotta get rid of this guy. The guy referred to the other guy that I used to date prior to him, and that his ancestors told him that the guy planned on coming back, that he planned on coming back or whatever, or trying to come back to talk to me and stuff, and that, yeah, that he would have to stop him. Keep all this in mind, right? So let's skip to, oh, no, I cannot leave this out. So this guy has a child and a baby's mother. Also had a fiance that he apparently traveled to Americas with from Eritrea, and she died, I guess from some type of sickness. I don't know, but she died because they were young, but she was in a hospital for a while under this illness or whatever, and she passed away. That's 111. She passed away, and apparently her family did not like him. He was living with her, mind you, because her parents, they own like an apartment building or something like that. So that's letting us know that this was a woman of abundance, right? She came from a family that has some type of abundant energy going on with them, right? That stability, right? That stability factor. And after she passed, he said that he was depressed, and he stopped working or whatever because he was depressed about her death, and ended up, you know, not being able to pay the bills and stuff to stay there. And so her family basically put him out, and he said he was homeless for a while. Alright, so that's one instinct. There was another story he shared with me about a woman that he used to talk to or was getting to know and wanted to date, and apparently she led him on, like she wanted to, like she was interested too, but then she decided to go back to her ex, and he told me that that woman's ex beat her to death via domestic violence, and basically was saying that was her karma for leaving him to go back to her ex. He also told me that he used to date Surviving Vegan. Yes, I'm pretty sure you heard of her, or you could look her up. She's very, I love her personally. So I was blown away when he told me that he dated her. And I was like, what? You dated her? Orisha Oshun? Okay. And he said that he had sex with her several times. And that he left her because he knew that she didn't really want him, and that she was dealing with her current husband now. Yeah, he basically dodged a bullet or whatever, and she was trying to talk to him, and, you know, was trying to figure out why he left her and all this nonsense, right? But she's very prosperous, by the way, so like, it's after everything went down now, it's like a lot of the stuff that he was saying just sounded like a whole lot of bullshit to just paint himself out to be something that he's not. So I just want to add, because that's all these are critical details. So his current baby mom, he said that he had his own house, and that his mother lived with him and his aunt and his baby mom. And his baby mom was there while she was pregnant, like, with his child. And that his mom and aunt used to suffer her under certain energies, apparently they did not like her, and as a result would treat her unfairly or a certain type of way that made her uncomfortable, that she would express to him. And basically he didn't really stand up for her. He kind of just let them do whatever and would go to work and leave her there with them even though they did not like her. And that he feels like she hates him as a result of that, and blah, yada yada yada. And eventually she started dating and, you know, seeking support outside of him, outside of that family, right? Because she didn't really have, he told me that she didn't really have a lot of family, that she basically kind of left everything and went, you know, to be with him. So yeah, he says that she cheated on him and da 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 da. But I mean, hey, you hear these details, so you tell me what you would do as a woman, you know, in a situation like that. Anyway, so eventually she did leave him, and her next relationship ended up turning into a domestic violence situation. So much so that it ended up in a situation where she ended up going through a lot of trauma and womb trauma, where she apparently lost her ability to conceive. And you know, she had a weed, a marijuana addiction, and was going to, well, the last time we were talking, she was currently going to therapy, right? Going to see a therapist and stuff like that, really trying to heal, you know. And he was telling me that she's crazy, she's psychotic, you know how that go. And they were having your typical drama, baby mama, baby daddy drama, da da da, which was ultimately why, partially why I stopped talking to him. It got so bad at one point that he even tried to convince me to do spell work on her, try to get me to abuse my powers, right, to get in his drama and do spell work on this woman that I do not know. Which, you know, even had me do a reading for him. And this is the thing, though, they're so stupid. Karmists are stupid because if you have someone under spell work just to deal with you, that's going to conflict with whatever, you know, you ask them to do for you, especially when it comes to a tarot reading. If you have me under love spells and glamour spells, of course I'm not going to accurately, you know what I'm saying, like, see what the cards are really saying, or, you know what I'm saying, it's going to be something that's, you know, in support of you, because those spells are in support of you, like for self-gain. Stupid. So, yeah, I was very blinded, but not blinded at the same time. Let's just say that, because my spirit is strong. And remind you, I'm on a mission for the Divine Council. So there were some things they allowed, but to an extent, right? So, there was, you know, we were supposed to been see each other, but it was prolonged for some time, now, there was a moment this person asked me to pay a $60 phone bill for him. Not saying that he didn't give me funds after some time, because he did. But yeah, there was an argument that took place where his baby mama was doing some searching out, because she was preparing for a case, right, a custody case, and how she came in contact with this woman that he was dealing with when they were together, living together, and apparently this woman gave him money, right? Now, I'm just giving y'all these details for a reason. And whenever he found out that these women connected, he got so upset. Like, there was several times he was so upset over the phone. He was just yelling, like, out in public, out in public, yelling, and like walking by people and all that, like on the phone, hysterical. But there was one time he just had this rant and was saying that he was gonna do all this, get all this spell work done on both women, and, you know, that their family was going to suffer, the children was going to suffer, you know, all these horrible things. Now, this is somebody who calls himself the alchemist child on Facebook in the conscious community, a shaman, right? So much so that he had his aunts facilitating spell work as well, because the baby mama apparently said that she was going to get spell work done on him, right? So there's that. And, you know, he got upset with me because I didn't want to do that, you know. But definitely trying to use me for my light power, my spiritual rank, because these demons, they see you for who you are, right? And that was ultimately why he attached himself and binded himself to me anyway, for that abundant energy that I have and, you know, the potency of my magic. And try to use me for his purposes, the purposes of self-gain for him. Okay, so I feel like I got out all the information because he was talking about trying to get custody over his son, and not just that, apparently his son really, really loves his mom, and he even had to admit that she is a good mom, even though he said all these horrible things about her. He had to admit that she is a good mom, right? So, alright, so we got all that good stuff out of the way. Alright, but face to face, I gotta say this. Face to face, because mind you, it went from a week shortened to 2 days. The first night this person stayed, before that, I was in college at the time, and we had these beds, and you had to adjust the bed, like, to make it really high or really low. And when the RA, which was a homosexual male, he came, and a white male as well, homosexual white male, Caucasian European male, he came and adjusted my bed for me, and it was his first time doing that as an RA, and me just being a kind, you know, soul, you know, I applauded him on, you know, achieving, you know, the actual task. And I was on the phone with this guy the whole time, you know, just because there's a guy in my dorm and I was living by myself, and just so he wouldn't feel uncomfortable. And he literally got upset with me and hung up and threw a tantrum again, just because I applauded the guy for, you know, achieving something that he's never done before. And I apparently was in the wrong for that. So he, once again, that trauma bonding, right, because that's a form of spell work as well. So when I told him that, okay, now my bed is too high, because he was, you know, saying, well, it's just a bed, anyway, it's just a bed. And he was saying that he was going to adjust it when he got there. So he's here now, sees how tall the bed is. I see how short he is and how small he really is. He kind of resembles like a gremlin or a leprechaun. Not that short, but he resembles that in a sense. And even though I had a stool personally for me, you know, like, he was embarrassed about using the stool and to get on the bed, like, but he didn't want to fix the bed. Like, all that stuff that he taught and all that stuff that he put on Facebook about him being so strong and doing all these things, it's like, what's wrong with you adjusting the bed? And he was, you know, picking fights with me, saying, I'm not sleeping in this bed until you get the guy to fix it, and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, I mean, but why can't you just fix it like you said you would when you get here, right? So it was just it was a load of bullshit, basically. So he submitted and basically ended up, you know, getting himself in the bed and stuff. When he went to sleep, I was still up, because I'm a student, right? I'm a student at the time, and so, you know, I'm up on my computer, and I always keep a red light, keep my room like a dim red color. And it's so crazy, y'all. I literally sensed a dark energy, a devil energy, while he was asleep. I just could tell I wasn't alone. And I'm not talking about like with my angels and my spirit guides and my ancestors, and I know they were there with me, because I'm here now, right? And that was partially the reason, no, that was really the main reason why he left sooner than he was supposed to. He was supposed to stay for a week. Mind you, he left in 2 days. I felt, sensed, and think I've even saw the entities that was attached to this individual. And ain't no think I did. But number one, first and foremost, I felt them. And I remember I called his name. Like, I called the guy's name, like, while he was asleep. Because I could just feel the darkness. Like, because it kind of, I'm not going to say it kind of scared me, but it did kind of startle me. Like, whoa, what is that? You know? So, moving forward, because he's supposed to be like this great vegan chef as well. He had cooked something, some squash or whatever, and it was not all that. I'm gonna just be honest, it was not all that, and it didn't taste like anything, and his excuse was because I didn't have the kind of salt that he used, which apparently is black salt. Of course I didn't have black salt. Like, you don't just find black salt any and everywhere, but I definitely had Himalayan salt. But anyway, there's that. And then most of the time too, he would just go in the other room, like in the living room, and just sit there glued to his phone, like Facebook. So that's another thing. Even though he was so sexual, and we, you know, had these sexual moments like via text and, you know, over the phone and stuff like that, in person, it wasn't like that. Like, it's like he was indifferent. There was one time though we did have an encounter. This was the only encounter really, maybe like the first night, I don't know. And y'all, I have to say this. I'm gonna say it the way that he said it, and it's creepy, but I'm gonna say it the exact way that he said it, the way he sounded and all. He snuggled up behind me like a girl, like a woman, and he said, I'm horny. I'm horny. Like, that's how he sounded when he said that. I've never, ever, 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 ever heard a guy sound like that, talk like that, move like that when it comes to a sexual encounter. So that was very alarming for me. Very odd. Very, very odd. Very weird. Creepy. So when we did engage in that, which was like temporarily oral, which shifted very quick, that didn't last long, and missionary, which also did not last long, and but in doing that, he put his head, it's like he put his chin on my head in a sense, like, but he wouldn't look at me, and it was just very weird. Almost like he was uncomfortable in what he was doing, like he didn't really know what he was doing, like, because he talked, once again, very macho over the phone and on Facebook about his sexual life and his past and all the women that he slept with and encountered, and how he would make women, you know, do this and come, and even had one woman get upset with him for making her come, but her not making him come, and, you know, just talk like he's so macho, and he's not. He is not. And I knew it wasn't nothing with me because I wasn't even sleeping with anybody for a while. Anywho, so there's that. Now that I got that out, let's get into this because this is already past an hour. Alright. So I came across here's the cool thing about that something old, something borrowed, something new thing, right? As I was digging deeper into that, on Wikipedia connections, because you know Wikipedia is like it draws a lot of connections, right? Because it goes into details about folklore, you know, the historic, the origins, you know, of the saying or whatever, you know, you're looking into or whatever. So when you scroll down to the bottom, there's a section here. I know you're not going to be able to see it, but there is a section here called superstitions. And so you have main topics, and it's like amulet, evil eye, luck, omen, talisman, myth, and ritual. Then you have lists, and it's like a list of superstitions, list of lucky symbols, Right beneath that is Africa. And then next to that is Buddha, a word called Buddha. Gris, which is Gris, Sampi, and sleeping child, right? So Buddha, when I clicked on Buddha, first, because Eritrea is in Ethiopia, by the way. Buddha, B-U-D-A or B-O-U-D-A, in Ethiopian and Eritrean folk religion is the power of the evil eye and the ability to change into a hyena. Buddha is generally believed by the wider society to be a power held and wielded by those in a different social group. For example, among the beta, we know, think beta and alpha. The beta Israel of metal workers. Now, he did tell me that he was a blacksmith. The belief is also present in Sudan, Tanzania, I'm probably saying that wrong, Tanzania, and among the Berber people in Morocco. Belief in the evil eye or Buddha is still widespread in Ethiopia. The Beta Israel or Ethiopia Jews are often characterized by others as possessing Buddha. Other castes, such as iron workers, are often labeled by bearing the Buddha. In fact, Amharic word for manual worker, tabib, is also used to denote one with the evil eye. The alleged evil power of the tabib is believed to be at a level similar to that of witches. Buddha's alleged prevalence among outsiders correlates with the traditional belief that evil eye curses themselves are rooted in envy. As such, those allegedly possessing the power of Buddha might do so because of malevolent spirits. One study specifies that they are believed to be empowered by evil spirit. Neil Finneran describes how the idea of magical creation underpins the perception of artisans in Ethiopia and in the wider African context. In many cases, these skills have been acquired originally from an elemental source of evil via the paternal lineage, the men. Rather like a Faustian pact, the power of the evil eye allows its bearer to change into a hyena, allowing him or her to attack another person while concealing his or her human identity. Some Ethiopian Christians carry an amulet or talisman known as katab, or invoke God's name to ward off the ill effects of Buddha. A Debtera, who is either an unordained priest or educated layperson who practices traditional medicine and sometimes magic, creates these protective amulets or talismans. Ordained Ethiopian Orthodox priests also continue to intervene and perform exorcisms on behalf of those believed to be afflicted by demons of Buddha. Such persons are brought to a church or prayer meeting. In a modern case study relates elements that are common to Ethiopian Christian exorcism. Alright. The exorcism is not always successful, and Jaletta notes another instance in which the usual methods were unsuccessful and the demons apparently left the subject at a later time in any event. In all cases, the spirit is commanded in no other name than by the name of Jesus, which we already know the fallacy in that, right? There's like no real, success with that, obviously. While I was reading this about the exorcism, he told me about a story when he was a young boy, and he was at this place or this school with other young boys, and how he's seen people possessed before, right? And he said this little boy out of nowhere started gnawing his own penis. Gnawing at his own penis and scratching and gnawing at his own penis until he bit it off. And how everybody was just terrified, and and that he called his mom to come get him. Read between the lines. The evil eye, bearer of the evil eye. Envy, rooted in envy and covetousness. Could he have been responsible for that? All right. So let me see what I got, because I may have read everything that I have listed already. Okay. The mechanism of this belief may be structured thus. The Buddha, or possessor of the evil eye, may also be known as a taib, which means craftsman. Artisans generally own no land, and as such are generally despised by the farming and peasant groups, even though they are physically, culturally, and linguistically indistinguishable from their neighbors. This person speaks a range of languages. All right. The soul tension is based on the economic group identity rather than any other factor. This is not a rural phenomenon brought about by ideas of economic envy and distrust. Even in such a thriving and rapidly modernizing metropolis as the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa, certain specialist weaver groups are despised by urbanities solely because they engage in manual work. So economic criteria rather than any other factors inform this snobbery, hate, and distrust, and ultimately lead on in a more extreme form of the belief that such groups or castes possess the ability to cast malevolent spells via the evil eye. In the cultures of the Horn of Africa and adjacent regions of the Middle East, zār, Arabic, is the term, zār, Z-A-R, is the term for a demon or spirit assumed to possess individuals, mostly women. Y'all, listen to this. And to cause discomfort or illness. The so-called zār ritual, something's missing here. Something's missing here. Hold on one second. In southern Iran, zār is interpreted as a harmful wind, assumed to cause discomfort or illness. Okay, there's some deeper details about this, how it manifests in women, and I took some notes on that. So let me pull that up. Boom, there we go. So another detail about the Buddha really quick, is also known, they also call it a moth, M-O-T-H. You know, like moth being drawn to a flame. Keep that in mind as well. That's for the Buddha term. Now, let's get into zār. Oh, let me read this too. This is pertaining to the Buddha. This was a passage from a fellow Ethiopian who was with a guy. They were on some type. The guy he was with was a journalist. Let's say that. But this Ethiopian had this message. We cannot go. This is regarding a village in Eritrea. He said we cannot go through that village. They are all Buddha there. These people were variously mad, dangerous, strange, outcast, and had the power of the evil eye. They would be liable to curse us. I need to find this because this video is getting really, really long. Let me find this detail about the Zar. Okay. And the details that I'm talking about, because I can kind of remember it, but I want to, for purposes' sake, I want to read directly from the information here, how it manifests in women outside of just illness and discomfort, because it was saying about it can manifest as domestic violence, infertility, the root word of Zar is ZWR, and it means to visit. And in parentheses they put, for the possessing spirit visiting the victim, right? Once again, that spell, you know, being casted on someone. Alright, traditional dualistic notions of good and evil are also a vital component of the daily Christian belief. The Zar, for instance, are spiteful, malevolent spirits allied to the harmful and evil Satan or ghouls, whilst the Abdar are generally benign, protective nature spirits. It is in this realm of superstition beneath a Christian veneer that the belief of the evil eye still flourishes. Let me find this detail for you guys, because this shit is serious. And this person needs to be stopped. Alright. Okay. So we are now on the word Zar. In Ethiopia, because Zar is also associated with Ethiopia first and foremost. Zar is used as a term for malevolent spirits or demons. I really want to pull up this information here. I could have sworn I wrote it down somewhere. Alright, this is taking up too much time, but I know what I read. How about I just find that, and then I'll put the link for it in the description box. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the cards, right? Let's see if this person is responsible, which I already did a reading on it, so I know. And I got some new cards too that's gonna give us some deeper insight about this that I didn't use yet pertaining to this individual, pertaining to this situation. So we're gonna pull some cards to see if this person is responsible for not only the afflictions of his baby mother, as you know, as it pertains to the domestic violence situation she experienced in assault, as well as her being infertile, and the woman who was killed in a domestic violence with her ex, you know, that the woman who left him, you know, to go be with her ex, as well as his fiance, right, that passed away due to illness, right? Another thing I'm gonna make sure I put out here that this person is a part of. There was this girl in the conscious community who was murdered via spell work, and I know because he told me, and he told me like details, that he so-called knew her, and that she was in some drama with a fellow, you know, lady in the conscious community, and that the lady, she does spell work, like she's basically a witch, you know, the dark manifestation of it, witchcraft and, you know, stuff like that. And that he warned her, you know, she's not one to play with, you know, she, you know, really deals with, you know, magic, you know, she's something serious, right? We got wounded child, yeah, so, and that he warned her, and this lady ended up, apparently she was having surgery or whatever they say, but she ended up dying, and he even chuckled at the fact, he even chuckled at it, you know, so she has reached out to me, and I pulled some cards for her, and that's how I got the confirmation, you know, that he was, it's like him in a harem of witches, right, in the conscious community. So this is why, you know, I was assigned this mission and test from the Divine Council, because a lot of people are under the spells, the spiderweb magic and glamour and love spells of these individuals in the conscious community, unknowingly and unbeknownst to them, you know, against their free will, right? Because of that glamour and love spells, even though it's all, you know, being torn apart, you know, broken down right now, you know, with Saturn being in Aquarius, right? And we just had the Virgo full moon in the 6th and 12th house, you know, of secret and hidden enemies and all of those things, you know, all of this stuff is being revealed. Hence, me doing this reading right now. So there's that. Divine and loving ancestors. First and foremost, what is the true identity, the true nature, spiritual nature of the alchemist child? The alchemist child. What is his true spiritual nature? What is his true spiritual nature? I probably should have kept that out. What is his true spiritual nature? The true spiritual nature of the alchemist child. Divine and loving ancestors, expose him. Expose him for who he really is. The Fool card. A fool. A fool. Wearing a false mask. The light attributes of this card reads, fearlessly revealing emotion, helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. This is definitely his nature. This is someone who encourages women and encourages people to have sex with random people or whomever, you know, to rush into having sex, even though doing that, you know, you're creating soul ties. You know, you're just only creating, you know, blockages within yourself. But this is, you know, an alchemist, you know, a supposed shaman that encourages this type of behavior in the conscious community. This very destructive behavior that only puts you in a vulnerable state of being, you know, able to have power and dark magic being being inerted onto you, right? This person is aware of this. He's a dark magician. He's a sorcerer. He is the complete opposite of what he puts himself out there to be. Hence, calling himself the alchemist child, right? Shadow attributes, using humor to wound rather than liberate. Denial of your emotional truth. Yeah. Yeah. Divine and loving ancestors. What was the real reason? What was the cause of his fiance's passing? Her illness. We got damsel, which we're familiar with the term damsel in distress. So the light attributes, understanding the nature of healthy romance, inspires you to rely on yourself. Shadow attributes, waiting for a knight to provide for you, seduction for romance and illusion. Seduction by romantic illusion. Seduced by romantic illusion. Right? Who does that? What does that sound like? If we're talking love spells. If we're talking love spells and glamour spells. Seduced by romantic illusion. Love spells and glamour spells are illusions. Divine and loving ancestors. What was the cause behind the woman in a domestic violence dispute? What was the cause behind the woman who died due to the domestic violence dispute? What was the cause as it pertains to the alchemist child? That's interesting. So we have mentor, light attribute, passing on wisdom and refining a student's character. And then the shadow attributes are inability to allow the student to move on to the role of master, imparting false information. Excuse me. Now, we understand that this person is in a mentor role. That's what he put himself in. And the biggest thing that stuck out for me was the inability to allow the student to move on. You know, because this is another thing that they mentioned when I was reading information about the Zar. Typically, whenever the woman will find this individual out, because it was always women that left him, right? That will see his true colors and move on, just like I did. When I saw his true colors, I broke up with him because he continued to facilitate spell work on me, my finances, my love life, you know, my stability as a result of me breaking up with him, right? Out of revenge. So when these women see him for who he really is, the darkness that he is, the entity attachments that he is consumed with, following up with continuing like dark magic and sorcery or whatever to prohibit that woman's progression and her growth and, you know, her moving on. We just had the alchemist child. So trying to get in the way of that woman making better choices for herself and transmuting that energy, right? Trying to purposely creating conflict, you know, casting the evil eye, the Zar spirit, right, onto these women. All right. So his baby mom, his baby mother, what is the root of this? What is the truth regarding his baby mother and the afflictions that she's encountered after leaving him? What is the root cause of the afflictions suffered by his baby mother as a result of leaving him? Divine and loving ancestors. What is the root cause of the afflictions that his baby mom suffered as a result of leaving him? Oh, wow. So we have the Virgin card, the light attribute, maintaining symbolic purity of heart and spirit. And then the shadow attribute, fear of intimate union. Yeah. He did not want her to move on successfully with another individual, to stand in her power. He wanting to keep her in a state of fear or make her feel like, you know, she's not worthy, she's useless, nobody wants her, because that's even how he used to speak of her, you know, that she's, you know, she's useful, you know, with her so-called being infertile and all of these things. You know, he talked awfully about this woman and how she was just useless, you know, as a result of the trauma inflicted on her. So and once again, her trying to heal. And there was even one thing he shared with me about her saying things like, you know, I just want to focus on a better life for me and my son and da-da-da-da-da. So, you know, this woman is really, you know, at a place of trying to put her life back together in the midst of all of this, you know, dark sorcery and spell work and conflict that this person is intentionally creating for her life, right? All right, so we're going to pull a card on the young lady in the conscious community who was murdered via spell work. What information could you give us regarding, we got mystic. Let me finish asking the question. Look, it still want to come out too. Let's see if it come out again. What information can you give us, divine and loving ancestors, regarding the death of this young lady in the conscious community as a result of spell work and as it pertains or relates to the alchemist child? Oh, wow. That's how he... Okay. So you remember when I mentioned how he said he warned her that she was supposedly a friend of his? This card, this is the mediator card. This card says, light attributes, gift for negotiating fairness and strategy in personal and professional life, respect for both sides of an argument. And then here's the shadow attribute, because what we're going to see here is that a lot of the shadow attributes are definitely at play here for the simple fact that there was a lot of darkness involved in these situations. So shadow attribute, negotiating with an ulterior motive or hidden agenda, either personally or professionally. Now this is also someone who is paid to do spell work. He gets finances as a result of doing spell work. He does participate in graveyard magic. I know that personally from getting close to him. See, that's a part of, you know, being assigned a divine mission, to get close to him, because when you connect to a real high priestess, someone, you know, with an authentic divine light, you have no choice but to have your demons and your deepest, darkest secrets exposed. You have no choice but to expose them to me. You have no choice. Hence why he was talking so much and telling me and giving me all this information that I'm giving you now. And not just that, why he left in 2 days instead of staying a whole week. And I mean, was fighting me to get away, like fighting to get away from me, y'all. And you know, that's why. Because of my ancestors, because of my light, because my spirit guides don't fucking play. I got OGs in the 5D. And his weak ass ancestors, his weak ass, you know, entity attachments or whatever he used to interpret dreams and all of this stuff that he does on his platform, right? Receiving information from dark forces and entities and demons. That's who he congregates with. While I congregate with the divine council. And we got a big body over here, right? They don't play, they definitely don't play about me. And he saw that, he sensed that. That's why he kept trying to separate himself from me, even when he was there in those 2 days. Remember I said how he was in the other room on his phone? Yeah, that's why. And creating conflict with me, and like literally creating unnecessary conflict with me, and I didn't even say nothing to the motherfucker. I didn't even say nothing to him. But trying to create conflict. But really it was his demons being agitated by my divine ancestors or my spirit guides and our archangels that protect me by my light, they were getting agitated because it was like, you have to get us away from her. You have to get us away from here. She is too protected. You're going to get us caught up. You have to get us away from here. That's why he left. And his excuse was that he was leaving because his son's clothes came in the mail and that he had to hurry up and send them off to his baby mama, or, you know, she was going to do this or do that against him, even though she was not even in contact with him on purpose. She cut off communication with him on purpose, trying to protect herself and her sanity and stand up for herself and set boundaries. Hence, he told me, because that was like on a Tuesday, those clothes that he was stressing about and trying to argue and conflict with, because, you know what I'm saying? That's messing with my schedule. They didn't even come in the mail, or he couldn't even send them off, or they didn't come in the mail until like 4 or 5 days later. So that lets you know it was bullshit. All right. And then we got wounded child again. Child wounded. What does this say? Because this came out the first time. Light attributes. Awakens compassion and desire to serve other wounded children. Opens the learning path of forgiveness. And then we have shadow attributes. Blames all dysfunctional relationships on childhood wounds. Resists moving on through forgiveness. Yeah, this person always plays the victim and paints himself as, you know, a person that's always having to deal with conflict and always having to defend himself, and that he's innocent. He's always in these situations. We got the Messiah. He's always in these situations. People are trying to crucify him, you know, without purpose or cause, and this, da, 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 this, that, and the third. This is the shadow attribute of Messiah. Exaggerated belief that you are the only means through which a cause can succeed. Yeah. Once again, he calls himself the alchemist child. So there's that. So let's get deeper into this. And we're going to use the Modern Witch Tarot deck, as well as Master Spiritual Warfare deck by Daisy Ozone. And I may have to do a part 2 to this video because we're currently, well, I'm having a hard time finding. Okay, so here's my charger. But what I was going to say was that we are currently, my phone is on 10%. So, but I'm going to see if I can plug it up from here. And we can keep this going. Just make this one video. Alright. And if I run out of storage, hopefully I do not, I can speed this up and finish this before the storage runs out as well. I just saw the star card, Aquarius, and then we got the moon card, and just popped out. And then we got the 3 of Swords on the bottom. Yeah. So, this person has been getting away with this for quite some time now. And like I said, that's the beautiful thing about being a warrior of righteous rebellion and really doing the work and quantum leaping, you know, and ascending within your spiritual self so that you can be trusted to be assigned these type of tasks and missions of the divine council, you know, as we're here in the physical realm, right? Yeah. Divine and loving ancestors. Did you clarify the Fool card? Clarify the Fool card. What's the Fool card? What's the Fool card? What's the Fool card? We got the Ace of Wands. Clarified Damsel. Wow. We got the Queen of Pentacles. Wow. Excuse me. Now, this is for his fiance that passed away. You remember what I mentioned about her family being prosperous, having an abundant energy, right? The fact that they own that whole apartment complex or own that apartment building that they end up putting him out of. Yeah. Clarify Mentor. Clarify Mentor. We got the Page of Wands. So we got the Ace of Wands and the Page of Wands. So the fact that we got the Ace of Wands for the Fool card, yeah, this person is like truly taking, like, consistent with this type of energy, this full energy, using humor to wound rather than liberate denial of your emotional truth. Yeah, like this they made a living. They made this their passion to do this, right? Once again, that covetous energy, you know, rooted in envy and that childhood, that woundedness, you know, within, you know, that trauma within, and constantly manifesting this not only, you know, into their reality, but trying to manifest this and transmit this into the reality of others in order to energy harvest. And, you know, we got the Page of Swords, yeah, and then we got the Five of Wands, yeah. Intentionally creating conflict, intentionally, for ulterior motives. And once again, so the mentor, this was regarding the lady who left him to go be with her ex, right? We got the Page of Wands here. So that's letting us know there was definitely some action taken here. And with it being a page, you know, it was very petty. Petty. He could have let this... Clarify the version. Something that he just could have simply let go. Clarify the version. But out of you know, that envious energy, right? And wanting to inert power over somebody. Clarify version, Divine 11 Ancestors. What's the version card? We got the Five of Swords. That's for the mother of his child. That's ridiculous. Clarified mediator. Clarified mediator. Justice. So, the Five of Swords with the Virgin card, mental illness, right? Trying to put her in an energy of mental illness, right? And anxiety, right? Purposely creating conflict for her. Upset because she stood up for herself and left and moved accordingly. Moving toward a better life, right? Gave up the conflict with him. Gave up. Just so he can energy harvest off of her and feel macho and feel like a man and feel like he's in power and stuff like that. We got the High Priestess card right here. Confirmation. Just so he can feel like he's, you know, powerful, right? And then the Justice card for the mediator. Now, there's two ways you could receive this. Now, first and foremost that came to my mind, this woman is getting the justice for her death right now. I already know. More than anything, she just wanted her story to be put out there because she did not have the rightful knowledge of how to defend herself in spiritual warfare. Right? And she just wanted to get that out there to she wanted people in the conscious community to be aware, to be warned, and to learn and, you know, and grow and ascend in higher levels of knowledge, you know, especially as it pertains to spiritual warfare. It's not all love and light. It's not all just love and all of that, but learn how to properly defend yourself in spiritual warfare, because yes, she was going back and forth arguing, you know, with this person. You know, that's just physical, right? And with this lady, this witch, this dark sorcerer, this dark priestess, you know, being like having these higher, you know, levels of magic as it pertains to that devil energy, you know, this is how she was able to successfully facilitate this murder of her, right, via spell work, because she did not have the awareness of how to protect herself divinely so in spiritual warfare, right? How to do clearing spells, banishing spells, protection spells, return to sender, reversals, whatever the case may be, right? And she just wanted that to like be emphasized. Clarify the Five of Swords. Oh God. We got the Queen of Swords. We got a lot of cards came out just now. I might put these back, but let's see what they say. Oh my God. Yeah, these women, you know, and I cried. The first time I did this reading, after I came across this information and they were communicating with me, I cried. I felt their pain. I literally channeled their pain. Literally. Now, this is pertaining to the mother of his child. And, you know, if anybody, you know, really deserves to speak the most, it is probably her, because she is still alive and, you know, has this soul tie with this individual and is currently, like, attached to this person because of the child that they have, right? So the Five of Swords is clarified by, I don't even know what order it came out first. But we have the Seven of Pentacles, the Devil, the Eight of Wands, the Five of Cups, and the World. So whenever the World card is talking about cycles ending, right? So ending that cycle with him, we have 14414 on a timer just now. So ending that cycle with him, because he's toxic. He's toxic as hell. He's a ghoul. He's a ghoul, a hyena, a shapeshifter in the worst way. A fool. He was a fool. And he abused her and put her under all this mental conflict, you know, not just with him, but again, like his family, you know, all this harsh communication, you know, being talked about, and, you know, them giving her the evil eye, looking at her all crazy and stuff like that. She wasn't just dealing with this from him, she was dealing with this from the women in his family, right? Because that's what I pulled when I did that reading. A coven, they all operate in this type of energy and have been operating this type of energy for some time. It's in the bloodline. It's in the bloodline. It's in the bloodline. And once again, her being focused on her abundance, right? And leaving this dead situation. That's what I'm getting from the Seven of Pentacles. Leaving this dead situation that's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's not. It's not. Queen of Swords. And cutting it off, right? Rightfully so. Standing in her power. Standing in her power against this devil energy. Yeah. Yeah. Not crying over spilled milk anymore. Seeing it for what it is. But this is his energy. This is his energy. But trying to make it seem like it's her. Trying to make it seem like it's her. Y'all. When really it's him. He feel like he got to resort to this dark magic and all this stuff. And creating, you know, deliberate events and stuff to create blockages and obstacles for her. Won't allow her to move on peacefully, because he's a fucking fool. He's a fucking fool. I almost want to put these cards back in just because I feel like, hey, they might come out for something else. But let's see what comes out. Clarified Ace of Wands. Clarified Ace of Wands, because I'm still going to pull from the Master Spiritual Warfare deck too. Clarified Ace of Wands, just because that really is cut and dry. You cannot deny it. You cannot deny. You cannot deny. Clarify the Ace of Wands. What's the Ace of Wands? We got the Sun card. I'm going to try my best to speed this up, y'all. Clarify the Queen of Pentacles. The Two of Swords. Clarify the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands. We got the Empress. Wow. Clarify Justice. Clarify Justice. Clarify Justice. We got the Magician. And then we got the Knight of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck. So once again, the Sun card. Yeah. This person is getting exposed. This is like kind of just adding to like this reading right now. This person being exposed, it was inevitable. It has to be exposed. He has to. He has to. Because of all this havoc he's created. And then we have the Queen of Pentacles clarified with the Two of Swords. Now this was the fiance that passed away, so splitting up her energy, right? Scattering her energy. That's so sad. And confusing her too. Confusing her in the process with these romantic illusions, when really he was just attaching himself to her for abundance. And you know, so a lot of, unfortunately, in many cases, when you're scattered about emotionally or psychologically or spiritually, that can manifest in the physical. So that pertaining to her illness. Because the swords, you know, that's mental as well. Alright, and then for the Page of Wands, we have the Empress. So the Empress could symbolize fertile energy. And remember, the base card, the shadow attributes of mentor, was inability to allow the student to move on to the role of master, impairing false instruction, right? We got the Page of Wands, clarified by the Empress. So, wow, this lady, oh, wow. Oh, wow. So, definitely going after, targeting certain individuals with this type of energy, right? And sacrificing them, trying to sacrifice them for energy harvesting. And then for justice was clarified with the Magician. So again, this is pertaining to the girl who passed away via spell work in the conscious community, right? That justice for that misuse and abuse of the magic energy. And again, wanting the viewers, you know, wanting people in the conscious community to be aware of this and learn how to protect themselves against dark magic, how to use their magic, right, to protect themselves and to bring down these principalities, right? And then we got the Knight of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck, because he did all that just to have this little pentacle, right? Pentacles moving slow, not going nowhere, right? And we got the Seven of Wands, because he's about to be in this energy right here, having to defend himself against all this havoc that he created, right? Burdens. Ten of Wands. Ten of Wands. So let's pull from Daisy Ozone, the Professional High Priestess, Master Spiritual Warfare deck. And y'all, this is long, rightfully so, because, hey, you'll find out when you look him up. I'm not too sure what's going on with him now, because after I broke up with him, he blocked me on, he blocked me maybe a month prior to me even breaking up with him. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Alright, clarify the Sun. Clarify the Fool, the Ace of Wands, and the Sun card. What's the Fool, Ace of Wands, and the Sun card? Blockages. Intentionally creating blockages for people. This indicates that the warfare against you is designed to manifest an energetic blockage within your energy field, therefore creating blockages in your spiritual and material life. What has he done to these women? What is he doing to his baby mama? Alright? Clarify the Damsel, Queen of Pentacles, and Two of Swords. Clarify Damsel, Queen of Pentacles, and Two of Swords. We have the Sound. Clarify Sound. Clarify Sound. Clarify Sound. Come on, we don't need no cards dropping right now. We got holes. Holes vary from tears. Oh, I'm sorry. Holes vary from tears and blockages in the sense that they are designed to steal energy versus alter it. It includes reducing projection and harvesting energy through narcissistic tactics and energy cores. So what I'm hearing is verbal abuse with this Sound card here. So something verbal. Maybe arguments, unnecessary arguments, conflicts to induce stress. Complaining about monetary situations. That's what I'm hearing. I'm just channeling y'all. Alright, clarify Mentor, Page of Wands, and the Empress. Clarify Mentor. We got water therapy. Clarify. See, once again, we have water with the Empress card. Remember I talked about that fertile energy, right? Because the sacral chakra is ruled by the element of water. And we're talking about fertility here. So once again, another thing, emotions. Emotions. Because the sacral chakra is the seat of creativity, emotional stability or instability, and intuition. So with Mentor, purposely misleading someone, inability to allow the student to move on to the role of master, imparting false instruction, right? Clarify water therapy. Clarify water therapy. I know about that. Root chakra. The The root chakra is located at the base of the spine. It is our connection to the earth and manages feelings and efforts related to pleasures. Symptoms: imbalance in consumption, back issues, materialism, scarcity mentality, financial instability, stagnation. Yeah. Trying to manifest blockages, right? Energetic blockages. Alright, what's this energy here regarding the Virgin, his baby mother? All these cards here associated with his baby's mother. We got the sacral chakra. And elemental health, so definitely doing spell work. Definitely doing spell work. Against her sacral energy. Remember when he was saying that she was infertile, that she experienced a lot of wound trauma as a result of leaving him and moving on, trying to start a new beginning elsewhere outside of him, stand up for herself, take control and power over her life, and move away and cut off a devil situation. Yeah. And then we got the solar plexus chakra on the bottom, which is it conducts your willpower, right? Yeah. Internal sun connected to our willpower, self-discipline, and identity. Trying to ruin her identity, her sense of self. We got symptoms, codependency, coping mechanisms, right? Her her addiction to weed and, that codependent energy, right? Ego to compensate for low self-esteem. Yeah, trying to literally destroy her self-esteem. And this lady used to model. She used to be a model. Y'all. Very beautiful. Debilitated willpower, attracting narcissists repeatedly, energy harvesting. That was something else I saw about the Zar. Yeah, then we got mental health and relationships and lover, as well as finances underneath it. This person is awful. So yeah, associated with the Zar spirit is attracting narcissists. And we also had energy harvesting, right? So yeah, clarify this energy here with the mediator, the justice, and the magician card. We got mental health. Clarify mental health. Ancestor support. Once again, y'all. Her energy is speaking very loud. She's operating in a high vibrational energy in the spirit realm, basically. That's what this is right here. Because she really wants to stress this right here, to really learn how to protect yourself in spiritual warfare, right? And how to really tap in with your ancestors, that support from your ancestors to protect yourself against, people who abuse, right? Abuse their magic, their energy like that. And we got mental health attacks, because they were doing this as well on her. Mental health attacks are at the root purpose of attacks. The attacker wants to exert some source of power upon the individual through the conscious surrender of some source of power, which unfortunately was her life, which is usually mental or physical. Mental health attacks are at the root purpose of attacks. The attacker wants to exert some source of power upon the individual through the conscious surrender of some source of power, which is usually mental or physical. Understanding that all contact must be blocked first, and then self-awareness, discernment development, and psychic enhancement must be undertaken to understand the ever-unfolding tactics used against the mental health. Then we got debris on the bottom of the deck, which says, debris as a tactic of warfare includes deliberate obstacles surrounding the individual in order to distract from priorities, mainly manifest as external circumstances and people. What we got here at the beginning? This person's true identity. We got the Fool card. Clarified by Ace of Wands. Making a living out of this shit, y'all. That's what makes him feel like he has power. Right? To try to debilitate other people's power by creating blockages and deliberate obstacles and events. Right? And conflict. For them standing up for themselves. And moving away from a devil, toxic, demonic, ghoulish energy. We got the Sun card. Knowing damn well what he doing. And getting exposed regardless. Regardless. Because he's a fucking principality. And he's going to have to pay. He's going to have to reap this judgment for all these innocent souls that he's afflicted. Outside of them. Including me. Period. Blockages. Yeah. He's going to be banished. He's going to be banished. This was underneath debris. Banished. Why? Because all these cords and stuff that he's created, posing like he's helping people, when in actuality this motherfucker is empty. He is empty. He is void. He is soulless. Ran by entities. Facilitating magic. Doing mirror spells. Right? Glamour spells. Glamour spells. And I knew, look, I knew it wasn't going to be that far behind. I'm about to close this reading right here. Entity attachments. Entity attachments. We got elixirs. That spell work again, right? And another thing, us needing to purify this energy away. A cleansing spell. Banishing spell. A purification or a cleansing spell is different from a banishing spell in the sense that it is designed to completely clear your energy field and chakras of any and all magic being thrown at you. It allows for your protection, and banishing spells to be stronger as well due to the release of low energies and debris in your field that drains spiritual power. This is how this person gets their power, y'all. And those of you watching these are the actions that you're going to have to take as far as this purifying yourself. If this is somebody you've been following, or anybody who's operating in this type of energy, because I'm pretty sure it's not just him. Once again, covens and groups, right? Because he has a whole harem, right? And you want to know how I know what I'm talking about? Because look what's underneath these cards right here. Now, you see, we got candle magic, which he tells everybody that he does engage in candle magic. We got friends. This card is an indication that the person who is facilitating Facebook friends, the person that is posing as friends, just like he did the girl who passed in the conscious community, right? This card, but he had ulterior motives. This card is an indication that the person who is facilitating spiritual attacks on you is a current or former friend. This could also indicate one or more of your friends is facilitating the attack, or the attackers are connected to or being recruited by friends. Beneath that, we have practitioner, shaman, or what he so-called proclaimed himself to be. A practitioner is someone skilled in the art of magic that's either light or dark. A practitioner is someone skilled in the art of magic that's either light or dark. This card indicates someone who is a fellow colleague of you, or a practitioner, someone who is a fellow colleague, if you are a practitioner, or someone being paid to cause the warfare. Covenant groups. Beneath that, this card indicates that multiple people are doing magic on you at once within a friends group, family group, or a coven, or individually. This could also indicate gang stalking, and then the crown chakra. Symptoms. Imbalance in logic versus emotion. Overemphasis on either material or spiritual realm. Mental illness. Disconnect from guides. Distorted telepathy. This is the type of energy that these individuals operate in for finances and for work. But you see what they are? Karmics. And what's underneath karmic? Herbalism. Herbalism. What's underneath that? Finances. He's a fucking fraud. Relationships. He's a fucking fraud. He's a fucking fraud. This is your alchemist. This is your alchemist child, y'all. With all his herbs and his landscaping and his gardening and his spell work. This is who he is. This is who he is. He's a fucking ghoul. He's a fucking Buddha spirit. Rooted in envy, covetousness. A fucking fraud. You're welcome, McVarcy Portrait. You're a fucking fraud. And your time is up. Your time is up. Another word associated that came up with that energy, that zār energy and all of that, was, you know what? Your boy, not only envious of women, but he's envious of attractive men. You know what? Hopefully the video, I'm going to go ahead and give a closing just in case the video ends, because it is pretty long. I don't know how much storage I have. But this is your girl, the Authentic Empress. And once again, this is the exposure of the alchemist child. Someone who is highly respected in the conscious community, but it's all spider web magic. It's all out of spell work. Love spells and glamour spells, mirror spells. That's another thing too. He's somebody who avoids mirrors. He avoids mirrors. He doesn't like to wow. Look right here on the bottom of the deck. All attacks are spiritual. However, some go above and beyond, attempting to create blockages and delays, and are a full-out attack to kill and destroy. This means that several mechanisms are being used in multiple parties as well. This card can also indicate a need for astral projection for higher level tools for advancement. Wow, wow, wow. Let me see if it's going to stay on long enough for me to get a message regarding this painting that he did in his download I received about that painting, as well as that weird little creepy voice he used during that encounter, where he sounded like a woman. He was very feminine-like. Alright. And his envious nature that he has towards women, as well as macho men. Divine and loving ancestors. What is the nature of that painting? The painting of the woman and the man having intercourse. The woman that kind of resembles him. And if you guys follow him, if he doesn't take his shit down before you can. Some of you who see this probably already saw the painting. So let's see. Because I know what I received regarding that. Divine and loving ancestors. What was the nature of that painting? What was the nature of that painting of the woman, the light-skinned woman with the fro and the dark-skinned guy? And the dark-skinned guy having sex. So in this photo, the dark-skinned guy was holding the mouth of the light-skinned woman, because Alchemist Child, he also has a fro and is light-skinned and small. Saboteur. What is that about? Induces self-destructive behavior or the desire to undermine others. Selling insights to the highest bidder, compromising your vision to make it more acceptable. Addiction to self-pity. Let me see what else is going to come out. Arrogance. We got student. Arrogance in the pursuit of destructive knowledge. Unwillingness to translate knowledge into action. Scribe. Altering facts or plagiarizing others' work. Rebel. What? Rejects legitimate authority out of anger, rebels out of peer pressure or fashion. Let me see real quick. Clarify saboteur. Clarify saboteur. This might be in a separate portion. We got the King of Swords. Clarify the visionary. Clarify visionary. The Empress. Clarify martyr. Clarify martyr. The Four of Swords. Clarify student. Clarify student. Clarify student. Clarify student. The Hanged One. Clarify rebel. What's the rebel card? Clarify rebel. Page of Wands. Did this want to come out reverse? It was like this. Alright, so we got the Eight of Cups, Page of Wands, and the King of Wands. Alright. I'm gonna cut straight to the chase. I don't even gotta read all this. Saboteur. So we already know Page of Wands to be about action, right? Passion. As well as the King of Wands. Passion and action. But this is in the reverse for rebel. And then we have the Eight of Cups, which really talks about experience, wisdom, moving forward, that type of thing. I'm not sure if that Eight of Cups is supposed to come out or not. This could be regarding the situation. Alright, so for the visionary and the Empress, excuse me, the shadow attributes of this. Well, let's look at the light attributes. It says capacity to envision what is not yet conceivable to others, willingness to proclaim a vision without regard for personal gain. Then the shadow attributes of this is selling insights to the highest bidder, compromising your vision to make it more acceptable. Now, visionary and the Empress. Now, what I received, and especially regarding that act of behavior during that encounter, right? And also regarding his jealousy, his envy toward women, fertile, voluptuous women, and attractive men. Yeah, he wants to be one. Deep down, he wants to be one. That's why in that painting that he did, the woman in the photo in the painting looks like him, having sex with a macho, dark-skinned man. Saboteur with the King of Swords. That King of Swords principality. So, with Saboteur, this is being destructive. Shadow attribute induces self-destructive behavior or the desire to undermine others. So, inducing his self-destructive behavior through that painting. Right? What really wears at him, the fact that this jealousy and this envy, you know, is manifest as him wanting to be something he's not, him wanting to be in this feminine energy because of the fertile energy that we have. He also said there was one time when he was talking about baby names and being having the responsibility to name the baby's names, as well as when his wife is pregnant, he doesn't want her to do anything like cook or da-da-da. He wants to be responsible for all of that. And something he said was that y'all get to carry the babies. We don't get to do that. So, you know, so that's why I said it's a beautiful thing to really invest in your high vibrational self so that you can be assigned these tasks from the divine council, because these dark entities, they cannot hide anything from you. They expose themselves to you and don't even realize it. Don't even realize it. We got the student card clarified by the hanged one. Yeah. Confused about his sexuality, which is why he tried to bully or target, you know, my family member, you know, because of their sexuality, right? And then we got the Four of Swords that clarify the martyr, the addiction to self-pity. Yeah. Yeah. And you see how this is a boy? This is a guy. The light attribute is learning the transcendent nature of service to oneself or a cause. So once again, the addiction to self-pity. The fact that, you know, him being a male or feeling like he had to succumb to certain things because he's a male, and that, you know, women, they have a better advantage, you know, with life and prosperity and this, that, you know, they get better opportunities and, you know, this, that, and the third, just because of their energy, that feminine energy, right? And wanting to be in that energy, wanting to be able, because there was one time he was saying how, oh, there was a girl who had received all these donations, but when it comes to him, you know, it's not that easy, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and that's the only reason why she was able to be prosperous, because people gave her those donations, right? So being jealous of the feminine's energy, to not only manifest support and stuff like that, but manifesting that abundant energy, having that abundant energy. So his fiance being the Queen of Pentacles, right? So being jealous and envious of that. Once again, being filled, possessed with the energy of the evil eye. One who holds the evil eye. That Buddha spirit, which is rooted in envy and covetousness. Y'all. King of Swords, and trying to sabotage these women who are in this energy. Sabotage people who's in this energy in general. Sickening. Then we got rebel. Rebelling. A rebel is someone who usually goes against the norm, right? Well, something that's considered the norm. We got the King of Wands reverse here. Passion. Reverse. Right? And then we got Visionary Empress. Yeah. What does that tell you about the painting? Because I know what the hell it's telling me. And wanting to move away from this, right? Not wanting to be something he is not. That's what that is. Because of what he see, you know, with all these, you know, these women, right? And their abilities and abundance and what's associated with their feminine energy, right? That fertile energy. All right, so I'm gonna leave this here. I love you guys, and I thank you for sitting through it, through this whole video with me, because this, like I said, this was a very important divine mission and task that I was assigned, and it had to get done. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. You have a beautiful rest of your day, and really take this information. Don't let it be in vain. Especially if you sat through this, don't let it be in vain. Be mindful. Learn how to protect yourself in spiritual warfare, right? Learn to develop your discernment so that you can see, you know, the ulterior motives of these individuals in this conscious community, because it's because people are spiritual, acclaimed spiritual, and they, you know, say that they're herbalists and they're selling these herbs and they do yoga and they plant plants and all of these things. That does not make them truly divine. Spiritual just means a person who has a soul, a person with a spirit, right? And that spirit can be demonic or divine, right? Learn about spiritual warfare, right? Learn about it, because people are casting these glamour spells, spider web magic. These things are very real. And if you're, you know, if you're not up to par, like, or you're not on game about this stuff, you can be easily manipulated and taken care of. Hence the young lady in the conscious community who was murdered via spell work. who did not have this higher level intelligence and knowledge of spiritual warfare and how to defend herself properly in spiritual warfare, right? Trying to go at it, you know, materially in the physical realm, because these, you know, before her death, you know, they were arguing, right, via words, but not understanding that, you know, people are really dark and sinister out here, and they would do anything to exert power over somebody just to get power. And, you know, divine individuals are targeted, you know, to be sacrificed for energy harvesting all the time, because this is how these people really thrive, right? This is what they do in these covenants, these covens and these groups. They bind themselves not only to a bunch of karmic energies, low vibrational energies. That's why it's so many of them bound together, because it takes 100 of them to make up for one high vibrational divine being in order for them to thrive and survive, right? That's why they have to resort to these glamour spells and this spiderweb magic and dark sorcery and love spells and, you know, mirror magic and all this. And this is why they have to resort to this, so that you do not see them for the true nature that they are, or them being filled with entity attachments, what's really consuming them and running them and governing them and conducting them. This is why they bind themselves to high vibrational individuals, so that they can thrive and survive. Because if they're just together, which that's what's happening anyway, the wheats is being separated from the tares, right? They're being left. We're leaving them so that they can harvest off one another. And they're going to take each other out. They're going to take each other out, right? While we're going to add abundance and that fertile energy, right, of divine love and high vibration and higher knowledge and ascension to one another. That's what we're going to sow into one another, while they continuously sow that bullshit into themselves. It's going to backfire. It's already backfiring. This is Saturn in Aquarius. We just had Virgo full moon, 12th house, 6th house energy, collective energy, right? And now moon in Libra, balancing the scales. It's time. It's fucking time. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.